Hey, so this video is me practicing for an oral presentation on a scientific paper for marine science, and I thought I would share it with you guys, just to see how much I'm doing. So I hope you really like it. Good afternoon, everyone. My species is Strongylocentrotus drybachiensis, which is the green sea urchin. And a little background before I get started. The distribution around North America, they are circumpolar. But around North America, their distribution ranges from the Arctic to New Jersey in the Atlantic, and Alaska to the Puget Sound in Washington in the Pacific. And in the water itself, they range from the low intertidal zone to more than 200 meters of depth on rocky shores and kelp beds. They like hiding places. And in this experiment, took place to track the growth of sea urchins while exposing them to waterborne chemical cues from the predatory Cancer borealis crabs. This experiment was performed in the summer for 4 weeks, and then in the winter for 22 weeks with different sea urchins and different crabs to analyze the data correctly. And in the experiment, the urchins were fed these pellets of urchin food, and the crab, interestingly enough, was also fed 1 pellet of this food for per week of the experiment in the summer, and then in the winter it was fed 1 pellet per week for the first 8 weeks, and then nothing else, just to keep it alive. So what happened was they put the sea urchins in a basket, a mesh basket with the holes being 4 millimeters wide. And the crabs were put upstream from them, and the tank that they were put in had an artificial current, so the chemical cues from the crabs of being hungry and wanting to eat something more than just 1 pellet a day were being given off, and this current carried it down to the sea urchins, which then reacted to this in defensive ways to make sure, oh, this predator won't be able to eat me. And in the summer, they used smaller and larger urchins, and the smaller urchins were considered 17 millimeters in diameter or less, and the larger ones were more than that. And then in the winter, it was 7 millimeters or less. And the crabs themselves prefer eating a medium-sized sea urchin, which would be between 7 and I'd say 14 millimeters in diameter. And so the growth rate of the smaller urchins overall in both experiments was decreased by 42%, so that they stayed smaller for longer, so the crabs weren't interested in them. But then the larger urchins grew faster. They were unaffected in the summer, but then in the winter they grew by 7% faster than they normally would, which was interesting. In general, the defense mechanisms were passed down to the next generation. So thicker shells. This experiment focused on size overall, thicker shells, and the size of the gonads. And the gonads in the sea urchins shrank over the course of the experiment, so that it was less likely that the crab would eat their children. And so this went on for 4 weeks in the summer and 22 weeks in the winter. And the skeletal structure thickened in most or all of the urchins, and the gonads shrank, and the growth overall, I already said, was the percentage of growth shrank in smaller sea urchins and grew in larger sea urchins. And so they realized that even if a predator is not attacking, the sea urchins still make physical changes to themselves to defend themselves against an unseen predator, which was really interesting. And the 3 scientists who worked on this are Rebecca Selden, Amy S. Johnson, Olaf Ehlers from the Department of Biology in Bowdoin College. Thank you very much.